Hey everyone, I'm sure you've seen the 2026 chat controls and how annoying they can be. So I decided to make my own chat control system with the least amount of code possible. And I do think that given how Roblox has been treating developers, not just now, not just the player base, but also the developers in last year when they removed our payment programs, I do think that it's worth pushing back and putting up a chat system. I'll see if I can put this on to the Toolbox. I'm not sure if this is going to count or if I'm going to have to go through the AI moderation system. But in case I don't, this video is for you to follow along, pause. I've reduced the amount of code. I've went through the Toolbox. I've went through the YouTube tutorials. I'm going to be linking the old tutorial that I found related to this. But now let me show you what's going on. So you've already seen the toggle. You can toggle the chat and you can press T, type something in, enter, boom. Yeah, that's it. That's all what's going on. You get a UI bubble and so on. Now, let's look at the code. But before we do, let me explain what's going on. So obviously you have the server script, which we'll be looking at. You have replicated storage with the event and the billboard, which is a simple frame and display. The UI corner is just for, show. Now, this is the interesting part. Like I said, I have made this very basic. I'm assuming if you do have a role-playing game or a game with system messages that you already have a module script, therefore you would need to add on to this anyway. You have your UI, a singular frame. You've got the chat that handles everything, the toggling, sending the message, receiving messages. You have the scrolling frame, which I made it start at the bottom so you can see the little animation. This was not in the original tutorial. The original tutorial is old and some of the code does cause bugs. You have the message box, which as you can see is outside of the bounds of the frame. I've followed suit and done the toggle the same way. Now, for this current display and for what I've shown you, this works. However, I would not recommend you've done this in Praxis. What I would recommend you do is you put the toggle on a frame above this frame if you're going to use the toggle in this animation, because fair enough, I have used the best practice to bring the chat in and out of the screen, but it does not work for edge cases. So I would not recommend this in Praxis, but this is just simply something I've done in 30 minutes. Now, let's look at the code, shall we? The code, you can pause to screenshot. This is where you're going to be having problems. You might want to reduce this to 2 or 1.5 if you're on bigger screens. Otherwise, the entire frame just goes out of the screen. You'd want a little bit of it, out. The first line stops chat, the normal chat from Roblox. Now, I put this inside here, and the original person who made the tutorial just put that one line on a separate script file. If you just keep stress testing it, and if you just keep like spam joining, or if in real life someone has a slow internet, you will see the chat system pop up for like a split second. I can't let you see this for some reason. Yeah, there you go. It popped up for a split second, so you might want to put that in replicated first. Now, I didn't do that because if you do that and then this fails to load somehow, the person will be stuck with absolutely no chats at all. You could also just take the chat that comes from the chat system and put it here. That is possible. Or you could otherwise use anything that someone puts here and kind of like warp it into it not being a chat and being a message and then put it there. But I don't know if you want to be doing that. I didn't want to trigger the system. I didn't want to call it or anything. So I didn't want to try doing that. As for the chat controller, the server script, you just have the event, which you also have in the local chat. Wait, did I go through the local chat? No. Yeah, so let me just go through it first. You have this function that toggles it on and off. You have the mouse control and the keyboard control. I did use T instead of slash because I felt like slash wasn't working anymore. I feel like there was a special control for it. And then you have this, again, legacy code that the original creator did. I do assume that focus lost does not work as intended anymore, because if I now press T, it doesn't activate it, but if I press T, it puts the input in. So I'm guessing that there does need to be a bit of tweaking there. And then this is the on client event that lets you edit the color, the size. I've done my own edits as well. This if statement could be destroyed, could be deleted, commented out, because the original creator put the text label inside the main frame and did not put it inside the scrolling frame. I found that to cause bugs, and therefore, like, the intention was that if the frame is full, the last message gets deleted, the message that's on top. I don't think that will happen with a scrolling frame. I don't know how big scrolling frames are. I'm not really bothered. But that's just something to think about. And now we move on to the server script. Like I said, I looked for something that has the least amount of code. So this one calls in the chat control twice. However, not too much. Here it filters it before sending it to the player to show up on this box. And it calls it again for the bubble. I found that interesting that it calls it independently. Pretty sure you could have done this with less lines of code, but that's neither here nor there. I found this debris function interesting because it's very short. I've never seen it in the Toolbox stuff. And then it just handles the bubble. Just close the bubble, put it on the person. That's it. That's all that's going on. I'm gonna keep this short. Hopefully, we kind of start a discussion, because I don't want to be posting in the forum. I feel like we as developers, we really do need to be putting our foot down and being like, we've made the platform, and yeah. If you like this video, please check out the game that I will be linking in the description. It is the game that I've made. It does have some bugs because I'll stop, it's half abandoned, but if I do see it get more players, I will be fixing 1 or 2 of the bugs. Yeah, thanks for watching.